Welcome to Sports Beat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Wednesday, April 5th, and I'm Blair Kirchhoff. We're edging closer to the NFL Draft, which will take place in Kansas City later this month. And on today's show, I speak with beat writer Herbie Teope about his first Chiefs mock draft. The Chiefs are sitting at 10 selections, and that's as many as they ended up with last year. Turned out to be an excellent class with 9 of the rookies playing in the Super Bowl victory. What does Herbie think will happen this time? Well, his first selection for the Chiefs has plenty of local flavor. We go over the top selections and talk Chiefs draft philosophy in general. Okay, let's get started. We're talking Chiefs today with Herbie Teope, and I think the most pressing issue of the day, Herbie, is and what everybody wants to know, are you going to Kelsey Jam?
Unfortunately, I will not be at Kelsey Jam because that's held on the 28th.
Yes.
And as you know, the draft is downtown, but, the Chiefs are still, their war room is not moving. So it's kind of like we're split. I will be at the training facility with Jesse Newell, my esteemed beat partner, covering the Chiefs draft picks from Arrowhead Stadium. Are you going to Kelsey Jam?
As soon as I heard about it, I was tempted to buy a ticket, but I'm going to reserve that for now. Kelsey Jam, as you said, April 28th, with Tech Nine's going to be there, Machine Gun Kelly, Rick Ross at the Azura Amphitheater. So I know when the NFL announced that the draft was coming to Kansas City, there was the idea, too, that entertainment would be involved. And we've heard in the last few months that some big name bands would be here. I don't know if this is what they were talking about. This almost seems separate from it. Only the dates are coincide. So we'll see, because this is not happening at Union Station at the draft site. And I thought that's where entertainment was going to be. So stay tuned for more news on NFL Draft Entertainment and Kelsey Jam 1. It's all part of the NFL Draft, for which there's additional excitement in Kansas City because it is happening at Union Station. And as we're recording this, I'm not sure how many times you've been down to the Star office, which is within sight of Union Station, where our office is located at the Crown Center. But the construction and the build out has already started, and the roads have already started to become closed on this. So it's going to be it's going to take some negotiating the traffic to get down there. Herbie's got a guest on the podcast. I keep my cat out of the room. Herbie welcomes Willie into his screen. So anyway, long way of saying, if you're driving around around Union Station, be careful and maybe plan for a few extra minutes to negotiate your way around that area. All right, Herbie.
Blair, if I can interject real quick,
yeah,
that's a good point. And I invite readers to go to the Kansas City Star because if I remember correctly, last week they had an article on there on the roads that will start closing. And I remember there's a couple of them that are already closed, and then eventually leading to the draft, so many roads leading into Union Station will be shut off where folks will have to go a different direction. So if you plan on going to the draft, strongly recommend that readers and listeners to this podcast check out that article, or at least get down there and do an early recon, because I don't think folks want to show up the night of the draft and figure out, oh my goodness, where am I going to park?
No, absolutely right. And we'll post that story with the article about this podcast that'll appear on kansascity.com later today. In addition, we will post a story by Herbie Teope that ran late last week, and I don't know what day of the print it ended up in print. Was it Sunday's paper that it was in print?
It went yesterday.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I lose track these days. I always look for stories first online, but we still get the print product. And of course, we're talking about Mock Draft 1, and Herbie does like so many NFL writers, Herbie does multiple mock drafts. So this was the first one, and you have to. The Chiefs make it difficult on you, Herbie, because they're for the second straight year they are beyond the 7 rounds of one person per round. They're at 10, so you've got to come up with educated guesses, not just on first and second and third, but fourth multiples in the fourth and in additional rounds after that. And just generally speaking, the other thing to me that makes it hard for the Chiefs is because they're so successful, they're always picking at the back end of the rounds, especially early. Is this one different for you than in previous years? Was there anything distinctive about this mock draft or challenges that may not have been there in previous ones?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Blair. And I think like some of the challenges for NFL reporters is getting to know college draft prospects, because we're not really watching college football during the NFL season. Our time to dive into college prospects is the combine. And so you start collecting data. And then when you have a team that has multiple picks like the Chiefs, you got to figure out draft history, first of all. Brett Veach, you try to get into Brett Veach's head and what you know of Brett Veach and what he thinks about the team. And then you start diving into what player and what position group makes sense. You got to draft for value in these things. So what you end up doing is you research players. You also research multiple other mock drafts. And when I say that, I'm looking at what Bucky Brooks at NFL.com does. He is a former NFL scout. I look at CBS Sports. They do a really good job with Rob Rain, who's a scout right now in the CFL, really longtime friend of mine. But I like getting in his mind what he's thinking as well. And so after you start making your educated guesses, then you can start developing who you think the Chiefs should take at what slot and in what round. The other thing is I see some mock drafts where they speculate on trades. I don't try to do that because now all of a sudden it just really adds a different dynamic to a mock.
And not that the Chiefs haven't traded. They certainly have, right? I mean, even the Patrick Mahomes draft, we all thought the Chiefs were going to take a quarterback that year. We just didn't know, but they were sitting at 27. We didn't know when. We didn't know exactly who. We knew the small circle of candidates. But yeah, I can remember being in the draft room for the Chiefs over at the training facility that night, and we were enjoying their buffet spread, an hour, a half hour, an hour into the draft. And all of a sudden, the word comes down, big move coming up, put your plates down. So Chiefs had moved up to 10 to take Patrick Mahomes. And look, they'll always, with Brett Veach, there'll always be deals during the draft. But, and heck, last year, I mean, they ended up with two, last year with, they moved, I don't know how many positions they move up to get Trent McDuffie. It was a handful.
Yeah, because they had picks 29 and 30, so they packaged 29 up to slot 21 to take Trent McDuffie. And a lot of this, that's a really good point on Mahomes, too, because a lot of this also has to do with some of the intel gathering that the Chiefs war room is their ears to the ground. They're hearing the Saints and maybe even the Texans or whomever might have been interested in Mahomes. They jump everyone and take Mahomes there in 2017. Last year, they're hearing the Bills might be interested in Trent McDuffie. So they jumped in front of the Bills, and that obviously forced the Bills to take their next cornerback that was on their draft board. I believe it was Kaiir Elam, right, a player last year that I actually slotted to the Chiefs in the late first round. So, whatever Veach does here, it's always going to depend on who they're valuing at what position and on the draft board. Remember last year he said that was his first time ever moving up in the first round. For folks who don't remember, when they got Mahomes, that was still John. No, was that Dorsey? No,
it was Dorsey. Yeah.
So it's just a matter of who Brett Veach has on his draft board and if he thinks he can get a deal done, because they're constantly on the phone in the war room.
Well, and then it's a matter of identifying what he thinks is the major priority for this team. It's obvious they thought defensive back was, the secondary was so important, and they, in addition to McDuffie, there was, they went, they had safety and Brian Cook, and then Watson and Williams, they spent a lot, and even Johnson, they spent half of their 10 picks on secondary pieces and paid off wonderfully, obviously, for the Chiefs with the Super Bowl victory. Do you see, just generally speaking, now we'll get into the names in a moment, but do you see a position group that Brett Veach would identify as a priority enough to package and move up in the first round?
If it's anything, I think it's got to be a pass rusher. Look, I know a lot of national prognosticators, even Chiefs fans, are clamoring for a wide receiver in the first round because Juju Smith-Schuster left and then McCall Hardman left. Folks need to remember last year after they lost Tyreek Hill, who was not a first-round draft pick, if folks remember way back when. This team still finished number one in offense, number one passing offense, and number one scoring offense because their number one wide receiver is Travis Kelce. So if I think they do anything and try to move up, it'll be for a pass rusher because you need a pass rusher with the release of Frank Clark and as well as Carlos Dunlap still being an unrestricted free agent. I don't know if they're going to bring him back, but if they do, it might be late. It's kind of like last year, he didn't join the team until training camp. A pass rusher to me makes absolute sense because you got George Karlaftis on a rookie deal, and then whomever they decide to pick, you're going to have him in the rookie deal, and you got to solidify those edges, especially in today's pass-happy NFL. I know they've signed Charles. Oh, I'm going to butcher his last name. The pass rusher from San Francisco, Charles Omenihu.
Yeah,
a 2-year deal, but I believe in going young. I think this team is designed with all the draft picks they have to build young, and because you gotta have players on their rookie deals when you have Patrick Mahomes on a massive contract.
No doubt about it. And listen, before we get into the names of the players that you identified in your mock draft, I want to say in the story, I was reminded that you've had you're pretty good success rate with identifying players that, yes, as Herbie pats himself on the back, but deservedly so. In the last few years, you've done this. Listen, after you get through the second or third round, it's just a total dart throw, right? But no, you really did hone in on top picks. We'll start with George Karlaftis. You had him to the Chiefs in a mock last year, and even before that, you've had some hits on this. Remind us who you had correctly identified as Chiefs draft picks.
Like in the first couple of rounds, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, first round draft pick, boom. They went with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The year after that, I remember my emails blew up when I had Nick Bolton going to the Chiefs. Like, there's no way they're picking Nick Bolton. And of course, when they picked him, I fought the urge to send back to reply to the emails. You were saying? But yeah, it is the luck of the draw. I did get lucky, but I just kind of like really zoned in on what I felt the Chiefs needed.
Well, you were one of the few that identified a running back for the Chiefs a few years ago when they did pick Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They were coming off the Super Bowl victory over the 49ers. Damian Williams had had the big game in the big postseason. Some people thought he should have been the MVP of the Super Bowl. And yet you had him identified taking a running back that year in the first round. And I can remember thinking at the time, even if they do take a running back, I didn't have Clyde Edwards-Helaire as the one that they would take. But you did. You identified that, at the time, the scouting report had him as a great receiver out of the backfield. And that we know that appeals to Andy Reid. And you were the one who identified that. So, okay, let's take a break, Herbie. And when we come back, we're going to unveil your top. We'll do your top 3 or 4 or so, and then talk generally about what the Chiefs might be looking for after that. So we'll be right back. Hey, this is Blair. There are several ways to access the Star Sports section. Let me tell you about a couple of them. There is Sports Pass. For $12.99 a month, you get unlimited digital access to all of the Star Sports content, including beat writing, columns, features, pretty much everything we write. The deal renews monthly until you tell us to cancel. For $159.99 a year, you get everything the Star has to offer digitally, including sports and the e-edition. Go to kansascity.com and drop down to the bottom of the page where it says Start a Subscription for more information. Your support has never been more important. As always, thanks for reading and listening. All right, we're back with Herbie Teope, covers the Chiefs for the Kansas City Star, and we are talking mock drafts. As we said earlier, it's difficult mocking the Chiefs because they win, which means they pick late, which means the difference-making players are gone typically by the time the Chiefs position rolls around. So they have to be better at scouting. And listen, we know that they're pretty good at it because I added this up, Herbie, before we went on the air. 15 of the players who started in the Super Bowl on offense and defense for the Chiefs in the victory over the Eagles were Chiefs draft picks. That strike, I don't know what the average is for Super Bowl winners in that category, but that strikes me as a pretty high number. 15 out of 22 being directly from the Chiefs draft. And that doesn't even count players like Andrew Wiley, who had never played for another organization, just signed as a free agent out of college. So Chiefs have done a pretty good job, obviously, with drafting under Brett Veach, and Dorsey gets credit too because that's Kelsey and Mahomes with those guys. All right, but you said earlier, pass rush a priority for the Chiefs. They're not going to get one of the top 2 or 3 guys that are projected, but there's a pretty good player who people in Kansas City know well that you have mocked to the Chiefs in the first round. So, drum roll.
Oh, you're going to put it on me to pronounce it? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I've proven that I could pronounce it, but
look, I'll say this. I know a lot of folks out there are going to accuse me of being a homer. Yes, I am a Kansas State alum, but this pick here just makes absolutely sense because he's projected as a late first-round pick, early second. And we're talking about defensive end Felix Anudike-Uzomah. How about that, Blair?
That's excellent. Well done, my friend.
The reigning defensive player of the year for the Big 12. The guy is a pass rusher extraordinaire. He's disruptive. He has the length. And when you think of pass rushers, I start looking at their length because that's a Steve Spagnuolo type. Again, it goes back to what fits the scheme. And I think this guy, he's got it. Lee Summit grad, local. We talked to him at the Combine. He has talked to the Chiefs in interviews. This pick here would be like a dream come true, not only for him and his family, but also for a lot of Chiefs fans who watched him in high school and also down the street in Manhattan.
Hey, he's been a good player for a long time in college. Every year, he got better and better, and I got to see him play at the Big 12 championship game against TCU, where the Wildcats won that game, and he's noticeable. When you go to a college game and a player stands out, I always think when I cover college games now, for at least for the last 10 years or so, and if I see a player who seems to be a cut above, I think about him as a draft, potential draft pick, and who else is good at his position and where he might fit in. And the more I saw Felix Anudike-Uzomah, the more I was convinced that not only was he a draft pick, but he could be a first day guy. And you're right. I think that would make a lot of folks around here happy. Certainly the Kansas State fans, and you said he's a local high school product as well. So very good. Good choice if that's where the Chiefs go. I saw him, and listen, I'm going to botch. I'm not going to try the pronunciation. I apologize. I'll work on this to have it better. But Northwestern has a player as well who is a local high school product who plays that position, who's moving up the draft ranks as well. So next time we talk, I'll have it nailed but again, with one of those long multi-syllable names, and I need a pronunciation guide for it. So bad on me for not having it ready to go, but he's someone I thought about as well. All right. For your second round pick, and it would be number 63 overall. By the way, Chiefs would be number 31 overall and last. So give us a quick refresher on why there's not 32 picks in the first round this year. There's 31.
Oh, you put me on the spot.
Well, isn't it because somebody screwed up? Was it the Dolphins who lost a first round pick, or the Vikings? I think it was the Dolphins that lost a first round pick.
Yeah, and I believe you're correct because a violation of an off-season program or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a heck of a penalty to lose a first round pick. But that's why there's 31 in the first round this year, and the Chiefs are at number 31. All right, so in the second round, number 63 overall, Mozzie, is that how he pronounces it?
yes.
Mozzie Smith, defensive tackle from Michigan. I loved the comparison that you made with him. Former
Yeah, and it's not just my comparison. It's a lot of draft analysts, prognosticators, and the guys who evaluate these players coming out of college. And the one name that keeps popping up is Dontari Poe, the Chiefs' first-round draft pick, I believe, in 2012. So when you talk about a guy who's 6'3", 337 pounds, he currently projects as a second-round draft pick, and so this is the spot to grab him. But the fact that a lot of people compare him to Dontari Poe, and we remember how much of a disruptive force Poe was his first couple of years, or even during his tenure with the Chiefs. But the thing that I love about him is if he's as athletic as Dontari Poe, what can Andy Reid do with some new additions of Hungry Pig Wright and a bloated Tebow with this guy in mind? This is the other reason why I went defensive tackle here. The Chiefs have gone with a one-year stopgap at the position next to Chris Jones in consecutive years. They brought back Derek Nottie on a one-year deal. They signed a couple of other veterans during free agency to one-year deals. They need a long-term solution here as the guy next to Chris Jones, and I think Smith fits the bill.
Yeah, and you're right. They did bring back Derek Nottie on a one-year deal, and Jones is there. What else? What are we looking at? For who else do the Chiefs have there? Colin Saunders has moved on.
Colin Saunders is now with the New Orleans Saints, and Saunders turned his career year into that multi-year contract that he got with the Saints. But when you're continuously signing veterans, you also have Danny Shelton coming back. He spent time on the practice squad last year, but you need to identify your future guys. So you're not constantly going into free agency and bringing in veterans. It's a revolving door there next to Chris Jones. You need a long-term solution. And I think this draft here, it's the first two picks. I went defense because that's where they need to stop with these, they need to do away with the one-year solution. You got to get long-term solutions on rookie deals.
Yeah, listen, you did go defense the first two, but as people who read that story or who will read the story that you wrote, it ended up being 5-5 and 5 offense, 5 defense. Last year, the Chiefs ended up drafting 7 defensive players and 3 offensive guys. More balance as you project, more balance for the Chiefs, starting with their third-round pick. You went defense, and now you go offense in the third round, and you identify a player who meets a need for the Chiefs. Wide receiver A.T. Perry from Wake Forest. What's the intel on him?
Well, the guy's got good size. 6'3", 198 pounds. Produced 2 straight 1,000-yard receiving campaigns to cap off his college career. 28 touchdowns in 4 seasons in college. Look, and I'm going to go back to what we said at the very beginning. I know a lot of folks want a wide receiver in the first round, but the last time the Chiefs drafted a wide receiver in the first round, you got to go all the way back to 2011 under a previous regime, and that was Jonathan Baldwin. For some reason or another, over the years, and also the Chiefs' history, they've only drafted 5 wide receivers in the first round. So it's a rare animal. So it's going to have to be somebody that the Chiefs absolutely love if they're going to jump up in the first round to grab a guy. If they wait, like they've done in the years past, you can get Perry at good value in the third round. This guy's got good size. He's shown he can be productive, and he fits a need there. The other reason why I waited for a wide receiver is you've got Marquez Valdez-Scantling returning, Kadarius Toney. Yes, he comes with durability concerns, but you got to remember he's also a former first-round draft pick. They invested a second-round pick in Sky Moore. Last year, they're going to expect more from him. And the one name that folks don't forget about, Justin Ross. I remember when they signed him last year as an undrafted free agent, Brett Veach was raving about this kid. If not for the injured back, Ross should have been a first-round draft pick coming out of Clemson. So they've got talent there. It's just a matter of getting, bolstering it now with another pick.
I tell you, that is such an interesting name, Justin Ross. I remember the excitement of the level of him a year ago, knowing it was, he wasn't going to play. It'd be a down the road guy. Well, now we're down the road. Going to be one of the more interesting players in during OTAs, is he not? I mean, just what this guy can do and how he can fit in, and I'm excited to see his prospects.
Yeah, and if the folks who follow college football closely, you remember he was a beast at Clemson.
Yeah.
So, if he's healthy, that's the key thing. If he's healthy, the Chiefs have like another player there who should have been a first-round draft pick in that wide receiver room.
All right, and the Chiefs have 2 fourth-round picks. You've got them taking offensive lineman Jackson Kirkland from Washington with their first one, and then running back Eric Gray from Oklahoma, the second pick in the 4th round. There's the running back, right? Picking a running back last year worked out pretty well for the Chiefs. You think they'll go back to the well this early in the draft for 2023?
I think a lot of this, and this is also depending on what the Chiefs decide they want to do with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He is eligible for the 5th-year option, and so if the Chiefs decide they don't want to tag him or extend that 5th-year option on him, all of a sudden this is a very bare running back room. Ronald Jones is gone. He signed with, I believe, the Dallas Cowboys. Jerick McKinnon is still an unrestricted free agent, but, you got to think that if McKinnon's camp is smart, they're going to do like they did last year. He's a veteran. He doesn't need OTAs, and they brought him back just before training camp. But as of right now, it's Isaiah Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You need depth in that room, and I believe Eric Gray fits the bill coming out of Oklahoma. He's got that size that seemed to appeal to the Chiefs, 5'9", 206. And he's a receiver. This guy can do it all, and his versatile skill set should fit well with Andy Reid's version of the West Coast offense.
And in the 5th round, I love the irony of this pick. You went with a tight end from Cincinnati. Seems to me the last time the Chiefs went with a tight end from Cincinnati, it worked out pretty well for them. This guy, Josh Wiley, I wonder if that's how he pronounces it.
Yes.
So tight end from Cincinnati. Listen, the Chiefs seem set at that position for next season, but you're looking down the road with this projection.
Yeah, because much as we all love Travis Kelce, I can't think of too many NFL players with the exception of Tom Brady who has somehow defied father time. Kelce turns 34 in early October. I know they've got Noah Gray as the heir apparent. Jody Fortson, as much as I love Jody Fortson, I don't know what the Chiefs' plans are for him. He was extended a tender as an exclusive rights free agent, and Blake Bell comes back on a 1-year deal. You're right, Blair. They do have a good tight end room, but they need something for the future, because of Kelce's situation, Kelce's, as he gets older. He's still performing at an elite level. Don't get me wrong here. We know he's the best tight end in the NFL, but you got to look to the future.
Okay. All right. So a final thought on the mock draft, Herbie. You'll have another one. Is it this weekend or when will it be?
The next one will be week 3. Jesse Newell, my esteemed colleague, will take his turn putting together a mock draft. So I'm really interested to see what he comes up with.
Oh, I am too. Oh, Jesse Newell's debut with the mock draft. That'll be fun. Listen, and there'll be different names, right? I mean, basically what I enjoy about the multiple mock drafts is it stretches the imagination and the possibilities, right? This is, this could happen and this could happen. That's what a mock is, right? This is what could happen. This is how the Chiefs could be thinking. And that's that really is the pleasure of these multiple mock drafts. Hey, before we go, Herbie, there's another piece of Chiefs news I wanted to run by you. It's not so much news, but rumor. The NFL schedule will be announced sometime after the draft. It seems to be pushed back later. We're thinking about maybe second week in May, perhaps, something like that. But who knows? There's no official date announced for the announcement. But there was
we'll get announcements to the announcement.
That's right, announcement to the announcement. But there was some speculation recently that the Chiefs now know their opponent for the game in Germany. We know they're playing in Germany. They're giving up a home game to go there this season, and we have believed all along that team is going to be the Detroit Lions. But there's a different piece of speculation out there. How credible do you think the report out of Chicago is about the Chiefs playing the Chicago Bears in either Frankfurt or Munich?
As we always say in the world of journalism, where there's smoke, there's fire. I think, like, I believe the guy who put that out there is a radio host.
Yeah. And I think
so whenever I see something that's like something from that kind of a source come out there, I start watching what the national people say, and it's crickets.
Yeah, that has been interesting. No follow up on it, and Chiefs aren't going to. We know what the information valve is like over there. You're not going to get any speculation from that side, so it almost would have to come from the opponent's side. I think that's a good observation. Usually, when a piece of news like that leaks, it's confirmed by others. There has been no confirmation of this.
Yeah, and I would say from my experience from working with NFL media, when we had our hands on the schedule, we would get it like a week well in advance of everyone else. But of course, you were threatened with your job if you somehow leaked it out there. So maybe it's true, maybe it's not. We'll see. But we will not know officially until, as you said, we get the announcement to the announcement to the announcement. It's just the way the NFL is. But we do know, like last year's draft, when they started this announcement to the announcement nonsense, because I think it's ridiculous. At least during the draft, we knew the Chiefs' first Thursday night game,
right?
And we also knew what the opponents for the season opener were.
Yeah.
And then, as the NFL goes, they'll just start, piecing together every day. Hey, here's the next one, and of course, I'm like, just release the schedule.
Yeah, release the damn thing. Let's go. No, but it's always in the NFL. The NFL plays its game, and it's a smart game, right? It keeps the NFL in the forefront. Everybody wants to know this information, and it's NFL is smart to parcel it out the way it does. So, all right, and as they do, we'll talk about it because that's what we do on SportsBeat KC, especially with guys like Herbie Teope. Herbie, thanks a lot, man. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Blair.
That'll do it for today. Thanks to Monty Davis for producing the show, and to our SportsBeat KC staff of Randy Mason, Jeff Rosen, and Scott Chasen. The Morning Sports Edition is the best digital sports page on the interwebs or anywhere else. See what I'm talking about by punching in this address, liveedition.kansascity.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with another SportsBeat KC, where we talk sports in Kansas City every day.